Ether was thrown out of science in the beginning of 20th century, and this was the biggest mistake of science ever. Ether is the bridge between consciousness and matter. And from the information theory, consciousness is the source, information source for evolution of human beings, for evolution of life. And we are definitely not the only civilization in this universe. Because in the entire universe, matter has tendency to develop into conscious organisms because consciousness is the fundamental reality of the universe. So the fundamental information about life is consciousness. And consciousness is acting on the material level using ether. Okay. That's why we have this coherent electromagnetic field in the living organisms. Polish scientist Slavinsky has measured that at the time of death, the radiation of biophotons is 10 to 100 times stronger. Why? Because photon is a wave of ether, and in the living organism, photons are highly organized. Biophotonic field in the living organism is the information system between all the cells. Life is communicating via biophotons. A great work on this field has done Fritz Popp, Professor Fritz Popp from Germany. And this coherent fields of biophotons in the living organisms are highly organized. And their presence in the living organism is increasing the weight of the living organism. I measured this more than 30 years ago, and 3-4 years ago we measured this again on the very precise balance. You can see article below. Ether is a medium of light. Okay, light is a wave of ether, and in the universe ether is stationary. Okay, but earth is moving through ether, but it's also moving the local ether around the earth with it, and also the local ether is rotating with the earth. That's why Michelson-Morley experiment gave negative result, because Michelson and Morley, their idea was that ether is stationary and the earth is moving through some stationary ether. This is false. All the phenomena of relativity or let's say all relative phenomena in the universe can be described by the model of dynamic ether. We can say dynamic ether relativity. Uh, and gravity is carried by the variable energy density of ether. And light is bending because light is passing. When light is approaching sun, is entering lower energy density of ether and it's moving like this. And then when it's going away from the sun, is entering higher energy density and again is bending in the opposite direction. In the Fizeau experiment, he he measured velocity of light in the water, in the moving water in the tube. What he measured that for an external observer, velocity of light is bigger in the moving water. Yes, because the moving water is also moving the ether. Here we have a very particular situation that if a potential observer would be in the water that is moving in the tube, he would measure that the velocity of light is smaller when it's moving in the direction of the water. And it's bigger when it's moving in the opposite direction of the water. But for the external observer, it's different. Let's say that you swim in the lake with a 10 kilometer per hour, and close to you there is someone observer in the boat, and he's measuring your velocity. Your velocity is 10 kilometer per hour, and one is outside of the lake, and he will also measure the same velocity, 10 kilometer per hour. But then you enter the river that is coming out of the lake, and the velocity of the river is 15 kilometer per hour. So your velocity in the river will be 5 kilometer per hour when you swim in the direction of river. But when you swim in the opposite direction, it will be 25 kilometer per hour. But for an observer outside of the river, okay, on the bank of the river, when you will swim in the direction of river motion, he will measure your velocity 25 kilometers per hour. But when you will swim in the opposite direction now of the river, then he will measure 5 kilometers per hour. The same is with in the moving ether. We have internal and external observer. That's why light needs less time when it's moving from San Francisco to New York. Sagnac, he has proved the existence of ether, but his experiment was not interpreted in the proper way. Because when the interferometer is rotating, the interferometer also rotates the local ether. And that's why you have a phase shift of the light. I'm very happy that we are preparing with my Indian colleagues an experiment which will prove existence of ether without any doubt. And I will not go now into details about these experiments, but definitely we will report on this in the near future. What in general is our plan? The phase shift of the light can be measured by the oscilloscope. And we will measure on the oscilloscope the light when it moves from the stationary ether, and we will measure the same light when it moves in the ether that is in motion. And what we expect is that there will be a difference, a phase shift of light in this experiment. Uh, the ether, as I say at the beginning of this speech, the ether is a bridge between matter and consciousness. And our civilization is in a very big crisis because we are totally disconnected with the source, with the consciousness. And to bring ether back into science will have a tremendous help that human civilization will attain a more objective, real picture of what is life and what is human being and what is this universe. This cannot be achieved with the with the science where ether is not there. This idea that universal space is empty and that universal space has only geometrical properties which are carrying gravity. This is not science. This is pseudoscience. And thanks God that there is enough young, intelligent scientists that I know now in India, which understand very deep the core of this problem, and that we will together bring ether back into science, into physics.